If I shoot the window of this car, it makes a sound of the glass breaking, and it also shows the proper decal of the glass broken, right? I mean, it's not perfect, but it's something, right? But if I shoot this window, it does none of those things. Like the decals are completely wrong, and the glass is not breaking, and it's not making the broken sound. There are a lot of windows like this which are not doing this. But this is a non-issue, right? I'm not going around on Reddit or Discord or making YouTube videos complaining that this window should be fixed because it's breaking my immersion after I paid for this game. I'm not complaining about this window even though I am right, because it's a non-issue. This window is not the purpose of this game. The purpose of this game is to kill zombies. So I'm not going around on Reddit and Discord complaining how I'm objectively right and arguing about this window, right? Because that would make me look stupid, that would make me brain dead. But there is one person in the World War Z community who has no issue or no problem being so brain dead by writing long essays of a non-issue and an unproductive topic on the World War Z Discord server and also on the Reddit platform. His name is IceBeam125. Now, I've talked about him in my past video as well, where he pulls up a poll saying that the medic is the most useful class and the vanguard is the least useful class. As if Reddit people have some sort of authority or validity, as if Reddit people have some skill in this game, as if Reddit people have some knowledge in this game. If Reddit platform didn't exist, gaming would be in a better place. He pretends that he knows everything about every single game. It looks very organized, and he writes a lot of jargon from the game, like certain perks and weapon names. So he looks as if that he has some knowledge, but absolutely nothing. Like, he just knows objective knowledge. He doesn't know the overall context of the game and deeper knowledge of the game. Bringing up non-issue topics and arguing with people topics which are of no importance at all doesn't make you look good. It just makes you look stupid. If IceBeam125 wants to look like a legitimate person and not a bot, he actually has to make YouTube channel and post some YouTube videos and gameplay videos showcasing his gameplay, but he doesn't do that because he knows that he doesn't have any skill. So IceBeam's125's argument is basically, if you don't own a certain map, then you can't unlock the 3 documents which are attached to that map, and therefore you can't unlock a certain perk to that weapon. Like, for example, lightweight drum, I can't unlock it because I don't own the Vegas map. Because I don't want to own the Vegas map because they are bad maps. They are extremely buggy, like the Phoenix maps. And I own the Phoenix maps, but I never play the Phoenix maps because they are extremely buggy and they are boring to play, because all you do in Phoenix and Vegas maps and some of the Kamchatka maps is stand on platform and shoot down bunch of enemies which have no health bar and who cannot attack you. So it takes no skill to play those maps. You just use combat shotgun and bunch of powerful builds. It just trivializes the game and there is no fun in those maps at all. So I don't buy these maps, and I've never cared about the documents because I don't believe that these maps are campaign. Saber Interactive completely has lost its creativity in making good campaign maps, so they just refurbish the horde mode maps into the campaign maps and sell it for $10 to make their job easy. That's not how map design works. So his argument is basically, it is somehow pay to win because I have to pay for this map to unlock these 3 documents and this perk, which is completely false, because I can destroy his arguments in couple of sentences. That is, first of all, I can always find people who have those maps and I can play with them and they are ready to help me to unlock these 3 documents, and then I can easily unlock this perk and a lot of other perks like that. So you can easily unlock all of these things without having to pay at all. So why would Saber Interactive make this pay to win if they are allowing a lot of these tactics to make you unlock it? Like, there is another way to unlock easily, which people have been doing it for a long time, is just to download a save file and replace your weapon save file. Pay to win implies that the purpose and the objective of this game is winning. The objective and the purpose of this game is to kill as many zombies as possible in a fun way, in a much more balanced way, in a skillful way, and to showcase your skill and gameplay and cooperation. Look at all of my weapons. Like, this is how less I care about winning in this game, that I have the most skill and I don't even use the weapon perks at all. I'm using all the level 5 weapons because the most fun I have in this game at maximum skill level is to have the silencer off always. Like, my actual silencer is not there. Like, look at plus silencer, because when I level this up, it will give me a silencer and I don't want that. And also it gives me a lot of perks which makes me stronger. I don't want to be stronger because I don't need all these perks to make me stronger. I'm already strong. Like, it doesn't matter, like, if I lose the game, I'll learn something. The most important thing is I have fun killing zombies, going for headshot. The purpose of this game is never about winning. Like his entire premise of pay to win falls apart when he says pay to win. Because this game is not about winning. Because if this game was winning, then I would be using maxed out weapons and winning every game. All that electroshot does is stunning a bull, when a bull should never be able to stun by one shot. It's way too cheesy and broken and a crutch. Unloading wells and Plague Doctor, it's whatever. It doesn't have any gameplay. It's just some sort of buffs. Like all these perks like SMGs make do and mend, which is supposed to repair the virus sample, shouldn't be in the game, because the purpose of the virus sample is a risk that when it breaks that you get constantly infected, and that's a risk and that's the mechanic. When you have these SMG's perks of repairing the virus sample, then it defeats the purpose of the virus sample in the first place. Like you can always repair the virus sample, so why have the virus sample anyway? So this perk is a crutch, it shouldn't be in the game, and you shouldn't unlock this perk at all. This applies to all of these perks, and I would say this, like most of the weapon perks in this game are crutches. They don't enable any skill or gameplay, they just are crutches and makes the game easy and redundant. Like certain game mechanics are just redundant when you unlock these perks. And if they want to include the perks in the DLC, then I don't have a problem with that, and nobody should have a problem with that, because they have given us a lot of free stuff. Like they have made the game free 2 times in the span of 6 years, and that's fine. And they have a particular business model now. I'm not a fan of Saber Interactive, and I'm not defending Saber Interactive. I'm not into giving them more money because they have their own business model. But whatever it is, as a consumer, we have gotten a lot of free stuff from them. For better or for worse, and it's mostly for worse, all of the content they have added is completely bad because it just breaks the game and it's just crutches. Like all of these things are just crutches at the end of the day, and the original game is completely lost. No game allows copying save files, and it is kind of a bad thing. But this game is such a mess that copying save files is needed, and they have made a lot of bad decisions. Like they have added so much grind in this game that copying save file is kind of being helpful, and they have not given us any kind of modding. Copying save file is very helpful, and this game is not about grinding. It's not about winning at all. It's not about unlocking anything. It's all about killing zombies and maybe some sort of cooperative gameplay, right? Copying save file shouldn't be in the vanilla game, but once they allow modding, and they should allow modding, then copying save file is kind of irrelevant because we are already modding the game and playing on private server. And you are comparing this game to Deep Rock Galactic, which doesn't make any sense because the developer is different, the game is different. In Deep Rock Galactic, the maps are procedurally generated. They don't require that much effort at all. The game is like 3 to 4 gigabytes. Like it's nothing. There are no texture models or anything. In World War Z, creating new maps, like set of 3 maps, takes a lot more effort. They have to hire actors, they have to write story, they have to add maybe certain mechanics. I mean, I don't like those new maps, and I'm not a fan of Saber Interactive making those maps. But I will say that their maps take a lot of effort. Like it's not easy to make World War Z maps and write all the stories and chapters. Don't lock weapons or their upgrades in the DLC. Why not? Like why shouldn't they have some kind of a weapon pack within the DLC? Like World War Z was always like that. I don't know why this is now such an issue in 2025. When you open the old game, like the Game of the Year edition, when they released the Marseille map, they also released this red and white skin pack called the Last Aid pack, and this was within the map DLC. Like when you purchase the map, you already get this pack, or you could buy it separately. That was the only difference. But back in the day, you couldn't copy save files and get this pack, so that was a difference. Now you can, and that's a big difference, because back in the day it was worse. Now it's kind of better because you can just copy save file, or I don't know, find someone else to play with and unlock that. Now you can easily unlock that, but back in the day you couldn't unlock this weapon pack just by copying save files. You had to buy the DLC separately or buy the map. As long as the weapon pack doesn't give like insane amount of advantage, like if these weapons for example had some kind of basking effect, or I don't know, extra fire rate or something which would increase its DPS, then that would be pay to win. But back in the day this only had 3 extra bullets, and the battle rifle, it was worse than the full auto battle rifle, so nobody complained about that. Rest, it was like the melee weapon didn't matter, and the combat shotgun was worse than the Eagle Scout. This is why nobody complained about it, because back in the day the DLC wasn't pay to win, even if you could buy, because it didn't use that much amount of advantage, and in that case it's fine as long as the advantage is not huge. Let's assume that the multi-shot rocket launcher in the near future gets a perk called as a masking effect. So when you kill 10 zombies, then it grants you masking effect for 5 seconds. It's way too overpowered. Like any masking effect is just overpowered perk. Let's assume that the multi-shot rocket launcher gets that perk and it is unlocked by a new DLC which they release, and I cannot copy save files and I cannot unlock that multi-shot rocket launcher by playing with anybody else. At that point, this will be a major problem because I will be forced to pay for the map just to get the perk. That will be a major problem. But this is a hypothetical scenario where selling weapon perks behind the paid DLC map would be a huge issue and it will just literally kill the game. So I can understand that, but until that happens, I don't see it being a big problem. And I don't think they will get rid of this copy save file thing, and I don't think they will also get rid of you getting all these unlocks just by playing with anybody who has that map. So when the new Vegas maps were released, I didn't pay anything. I still don't own the Vegas maps at all because I don't want to own them. And yet I get to enjoy a lot of the content they made. Like I can play with the defensive SMG weapon, I can test it, I can play with the base trinket or whatever, and then I can play as any of these 4 characters for free without having to pay anything. And that is the business model of Saber Interactive. Like they try to put out free content for customers to get in, and they hope that the customers they get in end up buying some of the content for money which they like, and that is completely a good business model. Like it's not bad, it's better than loot boxes, and that's how it is. And they also have some weird marketing stuff, like World War Z is also celebrating over 25 million players worldwide, but when I look at the Steam charts, there are hardly 3,000. Where are the 25 million players? And the same is true for Space Marine 2 as well. Like Space Marine 2, they say something like we have 7 million players, but if you look at the Steam charts, there are hardly 10,000 players playing. So this is all marketing ploy, and it's just there to attract some customers into buying some free stuff so that they can pay later on for their actual content. And that's completely fine as long as they don't go overboard and put out overpowered stuff in the game, which you have to necessarily pay and you can't get it anywhere else. And they do a lot of stuff in the game. As long as they don't go overboard, which they have never done it, and before it was worse. So in the future, I don't think that's going to happen, especially when you have certain things like copying save files. I don't see this is an issue at all. It's a non-issue. And you also have to remember that World War Z is a different kind of a game. In other games, any class can start with any weapon, like there is freedom of choice. In this game, the weapons are kind of RNG factor. They are spread out in the map and it's a random luck. So the weapons are to be found in the map. You can't start with any weapon which you want. So they can't really release weapons as DLC packs, because what happens if you find that weapon in the map, like you don't get to pick it up, like they can't program it like this. So all they can do is make DLC packs of same weapons or release certain perks which are behind another DLC. That's all they can do. So in summary, is World War Z pay to win, paywall, or pay to unlock? Absolutely not. For World War Z to be pay to win, you have to first demonstrate that the purpose of this game is to win. Unlike in other games, by losing, you lose everything you have earned, and a lot of stuff is at cost when you play that game. In World War Z, it is quite the opposite. You don't have to win. The game doesn't force you to win. You can just play the game as it is and keep losing, and you don't lose anything. And you can unlock all of the stuff by either copying the save files, or by playing with someone else who can help you to win, or they can help you to unlock those documents for the specific perks for you to unlock those things. So it is absolutely not pay to win or pay to unlock. You have to prove otherwise, which you cannot. Is there a community-wide paywall on those perks? Absolutely yes. There has to be at least one person in the entire community or the entire player base who can own that map so that others can play with that person to unlock those documents and those perks which are in that DLC maps. Yes, there is community-wide paywall, but this problem is so small that it becomes a non-issue. It is as if I'm complaining about some graphics issue in some map, that the window is not breaking because the developer didn't program that window properly. So it is a non-issue. It's a very small issue. It doesn't pose any problem, and all it does is diverts you from the actual problems of the game, like server problems, like a lot of bugs in the game, a lot of balance issue, and a lot of crutches, and a lot of uncooperative mechanics like invisibility and invulnerability. Those are the real problems of these games, and not a problem like paywalling or pay to unlock. That is not a problem at all. It's a non-issue. Is IceBeam 125 branded? Absolutely yes. I've proven it many times that IceBeam 125 doesn't seem to understand gaming at all. Like he doesn't understand World War Z game in a deeper level. He only understands perks and how they work. That's it. And he somehow pretends that now he understand this game, but he doesn't seem to have skill in the game, and he doesn't seem to understand how those perks affect classes and how they synergize with each other and create different interesting gameplay. So he keeps throwing around those words like Vanguard is a useless class or Slasher is a useless class. The problem with Vanguard and Slasher is not that they are useless. The problem with Vanguard and Slasher are various different problems which I will talk about in maybe a different video. And is the community branded? Is the World War Z community branded? Absolutely yes. I have proven this many times. The World War Z community is like a rock or a tree. Like you can't talk to a rock or a tree and expect it to come up with some good arguments or some knowledge. Like no matter how much you explain a rock all of your problems, nothing will happen. I mean, no result will come out. The best you can do is kick that rock and it will fly away. And the same is true with the World War Z community. A rock is branded, a community is branded, and it is always been the case. Is Saber Interactive a bad developer? Absolutely. Yes. Saber Interactive is one of the worst developers that can ever exist. I have made several videos about it. There is no need to support this developer. You should never support this developer at all. And all of the video games are just non-functioning games. They don't do what they are advertised for. They are not cooperative, first of all, because once you add invisibility and invulnerability in their games, in any game, in any cooperative game, then it stops functioning as a cooperative game. You can do anything with invisibility and invulnerability. Teammates do not matter at all. The servers are bad. Balancing is non-existent. Like the games are not balanced. Space Marine 2 and World War Z, they are not balanced at all. They don't fundamentally work as video games most of the time because the game mechanics are just flawed or redundant. Like spamming parry mechanics and execution or dumping magazine on a bunch of enemies which have no health bar, and there are a lot of redundant mechanics which are cancelled by perks. So they don't know how to design a video game and they don't know any knowledge. Servers are broken and the game is full of bugs, and every time they update the games are getting buggier and buggier up until the point that it is not fun to play those games. I wanted to end the video right there, but IceBeam made another post on the Discord saying that /5000 zombies portrait frame unlock is a bad idea because it promotes a certain playstyle where players will just melee around other players in front of them and cause them annoyance in shooting. That is absolutely ridiculous statement to make. Just because there is a portrait frame to unlock doesn't promote certain playstyle at all. There is no time limit or match limit on unlocking and meleeing 5000 zombies, so you can take however long you want to take to unlock this particular portrait frame. And if there is a player who is rushing and trying to intentionally melee around other players and causing them annoyance, it is the problem of that particular player and that particular playstyle. It is the problem of that player and their skill level. It is not the problem of the portrait frame at all. People really need to learn to differentiate between if something is a problem with the game mechanic or it's a problem with the player skill. And the way you differentiate that is by knowing the context of the game, knowing the purpose of the game, and what the game mechanics are supposed to do. So for example, the masking effect is absolutely a bad thing because there is a clear logical connection between someone using the masking effect correctly in an intended way and causing the effect of a zombie moving to another player and killing them. But there is no logical connection between a portrait frame suggesting you to melee 5000 zombies and you walking into someone else's line of fire and meleeing around them. Like there is no logical connection there. Absolutely nothing. You make a lot of other examples of griefing your teammates, like setting up claymores in places where it can hurt teammates and restrict their movement. Is that a problem with the game mechanic or a player skill? It is the problem with the player skill, because players always have the control over where they can place the claymores. Therefore, if someone is placing the claymores which is hurting you, blame the player skill, not the claymores. Pistol drone is exploding a bomber. Is that a problem with the game mechanic or the player skill? It is a problem with the game mechanic because players do not have the control over the pistol drone. Jumping in front of players who are shooting Is that a problem with game mechanic or player skill? It is kind of both, it is kind of complicated. And in most cases, it is the problem with the player skill. But sometimes the game can lunge you into other players' line of fire just because the melee system is kind of weird. It has this lunge mechanic and it is a problem. But in most cases, it is a problem with the player skill because players shouldn't be meleeing around teammates. Putting all the methods of griefing your teammates into one basket and calling it a day isn't taking the context of the game into consideration at all. It just blames Saber for doing nothing. It just blames game mechanics at the end of the day without considering player skill into the equation. And the way you decide whether it's a problem with the player skill or not is that you consider if players have the choice to do something else about it. With regards to masking effect, they don't. Like with masking effect, players do not have the control over where the zombies are going to go if they use the masking effect even in the correct way of saving somebody, and you end up sending zombies. This is why this game mechanic is bad. It's absolutely the problem with the game mechanic. Another example of griefing your teammates is to intentionally bait them with the Vanguard class and get benefits from their death. Now, is this a problem with the game mechanic or the player skill? Because the players totally have the control over whether they should bait their teammates or not. So you would think that this is a problem with the player skill, but it is actually not. Because again, the context matters so much. The context of the game is to create optimal builds and to play efficiently. And in the context of baiting teammates and playing the Vanguard class most skillfully and efficiently, baiting your teammates is the way to go in many cases, most cases. You have to bait your teammates. If you just play passive, you would play the game cooperatively and not bait the teammates. But then you won't be playing the Vanguard class at its maximum skill level. You won't be using all of its perks and create gameplay loop at all. You will just be defending them. This is why I have to emphasize this so much, that in deciding whether a game mechanic is a problem or not, you have to have lot of game knowledge first of all, and you have to understand game mechanics, and you have to understand the context of a game and game mechanics, and then you have to combine all of these things and then judge whether something is a game mechanic issue or a player skill issue. And that comes only from logical thinking and having knowledge and understanding of the game mechanics and the game. Yet another example would be using explosive ammo and causing a lot of friendly fire. Is that griefing with explosive ammo a problem with the game mechanic or player skill? It is absolutely the problem with the game mechanic, because yes, there is some amount of player skill involved where you have to have certain amount of skill level in the game to avoid friendly fire and position yourself properly around your teammates and know where they are. But at some point, it is too much of a punishment using explosive ammo and shooting around your teammates that it removes the skill of covering your teammates who are getting chased by the zombies. And that is a skill check and it removes that. So in the context of gameplay, context of having skill ceiling in the game, it is bad game mechanic, because there are also other things like melee lunge, as I've said, and melee repositioning. That means your character moves just because you melee, and those are bad mechanics, and those are in detriment to using explosive ammo, because you can't predict where the teammate is going to move when they are meleeing around. Therefore, the only way to use explosive ammo and not cause friendly fire is to not shoot around teammates or not have that skill. Knowing if something is a bad game mechanics takes a lot of understanding of the game, it takes a lot of skill in the game, and you have to also understand what matters and what doesn't matter, how teammates affect intricacies of game mechanics like melee lunging and repositioning and everything else. For those who don't understand, I'm meleeing, I'm pushing back, and my character is moving. So I'm not pressing WSD, I'm not moving my character, and the very act of me meleeing around moves me. This shouldn't exist in the game. Because what if a teammate is trying to cover me by shooting zombies around me, and the exact same time they shoot, I try to push back a zombie in front or behind and reposition myself. I get shot. I'm bound to get shot because you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it, and this shouldn't exist. My character shouldn't reposition at all. Why can't we talk about these issues in the game? Why are we so stuck about non-issues in the game? Then because he doesn't understand the game, he really makes some illogical statements and line of thought. Like he says something like, on higher difficulties, melee weapons are supposed to be used as a pushback tool, not a primary weapons replacer, and the developers don't seem to understand that. Then in conjunction, he makes statements like the Vanguard and Slasher are bad classes and they will distract people from playing better classes like Gunslinger, and the developer shouldn't encourage bad options. These are all illogical statements and contradictory because he somehow assumes that Saber Interactive made this game properly. He doesn't address the elephant in the room. The main issue of the game is the melee system. The melee system is absolutely abhorrent. It sucks. And therefore, we have all these issues where the slasher class has low skill ceiling. That means that once you have 200 hours in the game, you stop playing the slasher class because it doesn't have any skill in the game. And therefore, you end up using the melee weapons only as a pushback tool when you play the game at a higher skill ceiling. The problem is not that the developers don't understand this, that the melee weapons are supposed to be used as a pushback tool. The problem is that they design the game and the melee system such that they are getting used as a pushback tool and they don't have any other purpose. If the game was designed properly with the proper melee system with dodge, parry, block mechanics, then you would have the melee weapons have different options in the game. They would have higher skill ceiling and they would be more viable classes. The problem is not that the slasher is lacking damage boost and they don't have special explosive weapons or team utility. The problem with the slasher class is that it doesn't have skill ceiling because the melee system sucks in the game. That is the main issue. So you can't assume that the melee system is good and that therefore the only way to use the melee weapons is to use them as a pushback tool. That is a wrong assumption. It's illogical. He says that the slasher lacks important damage boost to primary weapons. What the hell? Do you even read the perks? Slasher has a perk called as Bloodlust. Killing a special zombie will give you firearm damage by 100% for 15 seconds. And the problem is that there should be more specials than just 5 specials for 4 players. They are way too less. There should be a lot more bulls coming around so that the slasher has some utility in dealing with those special zombies and getting that firearm boost. So first of all, the statement you're making is completely false. Like, you are wrong. You're absolutely wrong because slasher does have firearm damage boost. And the other problem is that there are not enough special zombies. I'm not saying that the slasher has no problem. It obviously has masking effect. The melee system sucks. As I've said, those are the problems. But what you're pointing at is that the melee weapons should only be used as a pushback tool is bad because it shouldn't be. And in the current state, if you play slasher only with the melee weapon, you can totally play with other players on extreme difficulty by using your tomahawk as a primary weapon and playing the game that way, and it shouldn't be a problem. Like, the game is easy on extreme difficulty. And by the way, extinction difficulty is a scam. We have already talked about it. I've made a video about it. You shouldn't play extinction difficulty at all. It's a scam. It's not a difficulty. It's an artificial difficulty. But that's other point. Another point with the slasher is that they have nerfed slasher in other ways by adding bad game mechanics like the Juggernaut, Rat, and making the special silent. So that makes the slasher an unviable class to play. And extinction, of course, makes the slasher unviable to play. So that is another thing. But the extinction itself is a bad difficulty. It's artificial difficulty. It shouldn't exist in the game. Saying that people at Saber simply don't play this game enough to understand how big those issues are. These issues are not big at all. Slash 5000 zombies for a portrait frame is not an issue at all. The main issues of this game are, first of all, the server issues. They are bad. Servers are absolutely bad. Healing from dead teammates is a bad mechanic. Stealing from breaching containers is a bad mechanic. Having invisibility and sending zombies on highest difficulties is a bad mechanic. It's a big problem. Pressing 2 buttons with permanent invulnerability with Vanguard is a bad mechanic. Using combat shotgun and explosive ammo on Gunslinger and killing every single zombie so you don't need teammates and the game is not cooperative is a bad thing. There has to be balance in the game. There is no server browser, or you can't host private matches, and there is no modding. Those are the biggest issues of the game. And you guys should stop being brain dead at some point in life so that you don't post all of these essays in a pathetic server, which is the WWZ Aftermath official Discord server, because nothing will come out of this. Ultimately, I'm making this video just to make a point and for information for other people, for those who want to seek truth. But ultimately, this has no influence on anything because nothing will change. These people will stay brain dead. Saber Interactive will stay brain dead for the eternity of the existence. Nothing will come out of it. No amount of logical arguments you can make will change their mindset. There is no logic that can ever make these people change. Therefore, these people are brain dead. They are like stone. You do not consider them as humans at all at the end of the day. Because if they were humans and if they were logical thinkers, then they will see those issues and they will cause issues in the Discord server and they will revolt against Saber Interactive and leave this server because this server is pathetic. The community manager have no idea what they are doing. The Saber Interactive has no idea what they are doing. The community has no idea what they are doing.